Hey there friends, my name is Dana, otherwise known as Dana Spirit Butterfly, and this video is an energy forecast for the new lunar cycle. It also, because it is the first lunar cycle of 2024, it also will encompass a little bit about the Chinese New Year of the Wood Dragon. As I journey forwards with this video, I just want to acknowledge a few things. I'm not a Chinese medicine or elemental specialist. We are just communicating according to what the collective field of us, you, the audience, and me, the Spirit Channel, are available for, what is supportive and assisting for us as we journey through this video together. But also it aligns with my role as a spirit communicator and educator. And I never know what's going to come out of these videos because I don't pre-plan them a lot. My role really is to show up to the recording and to communicate that which I'm perceiving for the purposes of healing whatever it is that is flowing through us that may be confusing or complicating and may be contributing to our lack of confidence in our own lives and as we journey through this thing called life. And so Dana Spirit Butterfly is how a lot of people know me. I'm also recording this video on Kaurna country, otherwise known as Adelaide, South Australia. And so what is spirit? So many of you have already watched my videos, so you'll understand when I use the term spirit. I'm talking in many ways about what for many people is hidden or mysterious or unknown. And spirit energy is actually known to all of us on an organismic level. We all have some awareness of spirit, if not consciously, then subconsciously or unconsciously. Our ancestors did believe in spirit way before there was such a thing called organized religion. Spirit is something that weaves through all things. It's an element of connection. And so as I sit with myself, I can tune into my own intrinsic spirit and communicate with that, listen, hear, and acknowledge what's going on within my energy system. Energy being more than just your physical experiencing. And I can communicate there from an internal sense of spirit, but also spirit can take the form of other people and physical things in this life. There's spirit interwoven in all things physical, but also the metaphysical or the non-physical realms. I like to use the term the subtle realms. And so the subtle realms can be accessed by our psychic senses. And if you're interested in learning more about your psychic senses, then I offer courses in that through my Rose lineage programs, but also just directly in psychic development. And if you would like to know more about that, then please do check out my website, which is www.danaspiritbutterfly, D-A-N-A, spiritbutterfly.com. And you can read more about what I do and how that all works there. As for this particular video, it really does cover the time period between here in Australia, the 10th of February, which is when the new moon in Aquarius starts. That new moon phase starts and it journeys until let me just check my notes, the 10th of March, which is a new moon in Pisces. It'll be earlier if you're in a different part of the world because of our time zones. So roughly between the 9th or 10th February to the 9th or 10th of March. We may talk a little bit outside of that, but just to acknowledge the lunar cycle, we are all impacted by the lunar cycles, whether you acknowledge that or not. That's partially because the lunar energy is a kinetic vibration, if you will, or it creates a magnetic resonance that does pull in particular ways on that magnetism, and that would be evidenced by our tides and by the way the ocean moves in reference to the lunar cycles. So too are we roughly 70 to 80% water, so the moon cycles do impact us, and they also impact the greater consciousness For some people, they will be sensitive around the full moons, and that is often evidence of your connection to the lunar frequency or the lunar energies. The full moon does apex around the 24th of February, and it is a full moon in Virgo, if that means anything to you. For some of you, it may not mean a lot. We are here to talk not just about the lunar cycle and the energies and the impact of that on your energy system, but also to communicate around the new moon, the new Chinese year. And that's because so many of us acknowledge that there is such a thing as Chinese New Year on the planet. The appearance of that in our collective system may impact you. We're heading into a Chinese New Year of the dragon, the wood dragon to be specific. And the dragon energy is one of independence. It's one of value and acknowledging where value is for you. And it's also about exercising independence. Dragons are also mythical energies, and so it is also a perfect time period for you to explore your own psychic senses and what the mythic has in store for you. Spirit is reminding me, the Great Spirit is reminding me that we are all psychic. As much as you may understand what psychic is, psychic, the human psyche is a psychic landscape. It is a way of mapping our reality and of sense perceiving how we're experiencing life. Just like with our physical senses, we have physical senses or physical awarenesses where we can take in energy information via sight, smell, taste and touch and hearing. We also have subtle variations of that, and they're known as our psychic senses. So once again, if you want to know more about that, then you can check out my work. But for now, let's just drop in a little bit more further into what the Chinese New Year is going to be about. And when I say that, I also want to acknowledge that so many of us actually celebrate the Gregorian calendar, where 2024 actually started on the 1st of January. But typical to this time of year, most people have a little bit of energy lingering from 2023 heading into 2024. And so the time period between the start of 2024 and the very first new moon of the year is quite a bit of a landscape. And so during that period of time is an evolutionary opportunity, if you will, to get a better awareness about what you might motivate for the rest of the year. And so January typically as a time period is spent partially deciding what it is that you want to focus on for the year and starting the process of planning. If you did your due diligence and started to plan at the end of 2023 for 2024, which some people are, diligent. Virgos are very good at being diligent in that regard. Capricornians also really good at that type of planning activity, then this period of time might have been a time where you made some adjustments or had some awarenesses as to how the plans that you had might not actually work out in eventuality. Spirit is also reminding me that we need to acknowledge and take responsibility for the fact that we have this thing called a human mind. And a human mind is very useful. We don't want to shame the human mind and the fact that we have one in spiritual practice, because it is fundamentally a part of human. So as soon as you incarnate as human, you have a mind that is always mapping reality for you. In that, we often say that when you look out and see the universe from the lens of your own individual perception, then your universe is always the product or the summation of what it is that you're holding at the level of the mind, whether you know it or not, whether it's known or unknown, conscious or unconscious. It exists in that. And a lot of that unconscious expression actually expresses through the body. It often expresses through the things that we find come out of our mouth without thought. It often expresses itself in the accidents that happen, where you might find that you behave in a particular way and afterwards you're like, what the fuck? How did I just do that? Why did I just do that? These are all secrets, if you will, to the human landscape, to understanding yourself better. And with power comes great responsibility. You as a force of nature as an aspect of this greater environment, you have power. We all have power. Your responsibility heading forwards into the year of the wood dragon is to understand your power and your potency and how it is that this energy of spirit moves through you to affect and change. And in that process of expression, in that process of action, in that process of being in life, you hold a certain amount of ability to influence. And that ability to influence is something that you don't grasp as soon as you're a child. You know, you're not born into this life with an immediate awareness or map, if you will, conscious map, if you will, as to how to express yourself in a powerful way. This is something that has to be learned. And it's something that so many of us actually stop learning as soon as someone shuts us down, as soon as we have a memory or an accident or an incident in childhood where we've had a dominant elder of some kind, whether it be a man or a female figure, a woman figure. These energies do often act in a way that has the consequence of us being shut down, of us feeling repressed, denied, or suppressed, ignored even, devalued. And so many of us have these experiences. It is fundamentally a part of growing up. It is fundamentally a part of being human. That we all have these types of experiences is certain. Spirit reminds me that it is potent for us to have these experiences. It is necessary for us to have these experiences. It is problematic when we feel shame or embarrassed, or shame and embarrass these aspects of our experiencing. They are simply, in many cases, a miscommunication. And with miscommunications, sometimes it's the product of the thing, the being, doing the expressing, the acting, not really fully understanding the consequence or the impact of what it is that they're expressing or doing on you particularly. And in fairness, it can be very difficult to know what will happen off the back of the actions that you take. I mean, I don't know about you, but as I head into my future, the actions that I take are somewhat unpredictable in their consequence. There's actually not a lot that we know 100% that if I do these particular steps, this is the outcome. Sometimes some things are more predictable than others, but in the mainstay, we can never 100% guarantee that the actions that we take will land in a particular way. And this is just true. This is true for all of us, no matter how good you are at commanding your own potency and others' attentions. What matters is that you find your independent voice and you honor that which you are, that you have an active dialogue with your inner landscape, with your mapping system, so that you can communicate with that aspect of you and acknowledge what is actually there. Often the landscape external to us conspires, if you will, to show us what's in the mapping system. And this is where a lot of spiritual practitioners talk about how others reflect us. It's not typically true 100%, but whenever we're in a heightened sense of awareness of an experience, when I have an experience that feels visceral, that I remember quite strongly because it impacted me deeply, then I'm imprinting in my own memory system, in my own mental mapping system, an awareness of certain truths over others. Now, they are just certain truths over others in that moment. Often there is more to that than what we experience and remember. But as I remember these particular things happening to me in the past, I recall to me energy information that gifts me with an opportunity to rewire. To rewire either to support and nurture and care for myself, or to abandon myself fully and leave myself diminished, minimized, and lost. And every opportunity that I have this, I mean, that we have them is certain, but for every opportunity that I have this also is an opportunity for remembering that all things that come into our lives are intelligent, they are useful on some level, and they are ultimately helping us to serve the greater good by acknowledging that which is here, by remembering who I am and what my experience has been, so that I can find ways to communicate what needs to be expressed from me in service to others and ultimately in service to my own greater wellness. Now, as I land on wellness, there's often this dance or this belief system that as I act in service, it must be selfless and it must be beyond me. And in a fashion, this is true. Anytime you use your energy to support others, this is in a fact a form of kindness. You could view it from that lens. But also it is an act in self-perpetuation. As we work to support others, we also work to assure ourselves of some level of belonging and some attachment that may guarantee more fully that our future is safe and sound. For us, the practice that we find often very difficult is to honour the self before others. And many of us, particularly if you're a woman, hold programs in our cellular DNA that suggest that if I put myself first, I'm actually abandoning others and I'm abandoning my own sense of safety in the tribe. And in a fashion, this can be seen as true. If my true motivation is simply self-serving, then it is probably a good reflection from society for them to reject me because I'm not considering my impact on others. But if I'm acting to serve myself because ultimately I have abandonment wounds where I feel unsafe in my system as I am, then this service to self, this showing up for you, this making a decision to prioritize myself over others is actually an important act of self-care, but also community contribution. For we need individuals like you to be able to be fully self-possessed, to be in awareness of self, to own that which we know belongs to us, to be in dialogue with the self, acknowledging that as I look out from my own eyes, I see the universe as I see the universe always. So the very fact that I have a body guarantees that there's always a part of me that will always be the perceiver of what I'm seeing. So everything that you experience always has something to do with you and your mapping system, the way that you view the world. And as we head into the future, particularly in the 2024 Chinese New Year of the Wood Dragon, it is a very good time for us to firstly acknowledge the self and the dialogue that's happening inside. Where does value lie for me? What do I see as intrinsically worthy of my attention and time? How am I acting in alignment with that? How do I feel when I act in alignment with that? Do I feel like I'm giving away energy and then needing to get energy from someone else like a vampire? Or am I recharging my own battery in order to feel safe and well in my system so that as I move forwards, I can bring more people alongside with me, cultivating their sense of worth alongside mine as I voice myself as worthy? And so our contribution to you today hopefully is to inspire you to maybe sit down and have a good hard conversation with yourself. How are you voicing yourself in a way where you value what it is that you have to say? How is it that you're acting in a way that contributes to your greater well-being? How is it that you're expressing yourself as whole, as unique, and as important? Important in a way that still maintains spaciousness so that others can also see themselves as important, valuable, and worthy. How are you showing up to this conversation? Because we guarantee that this year, this Chinese New Year, there'll be a lot of tests. A lot of it will come down to your ability to acknowledge that which is in your system, to administer your life deliberately. And if we can leave you with any message, it's about being deliberate about your actions, making sure that if you take a step forwards towards something, it means something to you personally. If you can't find a personal reason to do it, then don't. Come back to you, get back to basics, and honor that which is inside of you. Often the reason why we can't tell what is valuable for us and valuable for others is because we haven't quietened down our energy systems enough to hear the inner voice that communicates omnipresently inside. I guarantee you, you are always there inside of you. Your dialogue is always rich and ripe and available for you. There's a lot inside of you that you value that has been there this whole time. If you can't see it, I run some programs to support you in that, and alongside my psychic development circles. So if you'd like to check out more of my stuff, of course, www.danaspiritbutterfly.com. That's DANA, spiritbutterfly.com. I'm also asking people, as maybe a favor, or maybe it'll be interesting to you, for you to check out also my Patreon page, which is www.patreon. So Patreon, I'll write it down in the notes.com/danaspiritbutterfly. I'd appreciate your time and your attention, and I hope that together we can support each other to grow, to evolve, and to find our voices more powerfully in service to the greater wisdom that is our collective field. So, much love. Have a great new moon cycle. I look forward to seeing you at some point. Okay, be well. See you.